of the climb, how long it is, because it's been a few hours since that team meeting, so it's just focus on the climb. This is the plan, and I'm sure all the teams have got this plan. Some will be just to follow certain riders and make sure certain riders, when they go on the attack, they follow them. So everybody will have their particular plan. Once you get into the climb, there's not a lot you can do. It's pretty much kind of man against man, but you know, they've maybe not got the riders that maybe they thought they would at this stage. They thought it would maybe be in a bigger group, and because of that action over the top of the previous climb, with Ineos splitting into crosswinds and everybody having to kind of dig deep over the top. So I think thankfully for a lot of the teams, they've had about 10 kilometres now where we've been on flattish roads. They've been able to kind of drink and eat. These are all the important things, and make sure that they stick to the plan. And I think if EF want to try and win this race, they cannot wait to the last few kilometres. If Chavez wants to win this race and you know, put everybody to the sword, then he has to go from well out in this climb to try. And he'll look at the steepest parts, because as you know, Carlton, as we get further up this climb, it gets a little bit easier. So I think round about the 5-6 kilometres to go is where we might see Chavez. If he's got the legs, of course. We saw him up there in the first stage. He was there. And that says to me he's okay. The team have ridden well for him. And when we know that the team have retrieved the situation, then you have to go all in. You have to give. And the fact that Kukelair is riding on the front, you have to try and repay them. And just watch out for Chavez, because he cannot wait to the final few kilometres. You'll have to go in the kind of steeper sections.
I think so, and I think you'll go with 9 to go. There you go. I think you'll go a little bit earlier, but what do I know? We'll find out. 13.5 kilometres then, so 1,500 metres. Our man out front, a minute and a half he's got on the chasers at the moment. Who's Madness has written in. He said Brian's tough advice to sports directors: take charge, kick back sides, and take names, and then come and see the headmaster afterwards, I presume. It's a bit like that working with Brian, to be honest. But
No prisoners.
I don't know, the old Braveheart cheer. 13 kilometres from home then, and you can see it's already just starting to pick up. Now, he's going to get a good way up this almost desperate peak that's watching over us here. He's going to take a turn shortly, and then the essentially the lasso, the hairpins, just start to come thick and fast. There's lots of them. It does ease off a little bit later, where it gets a little bit kinder, but everyone has an interest in the day, as you can see. And from the makeup of Ineos Grenadiers, we'll do our best to work out who it's going to be today. Ethan Hayter wears the blue jersey. Looks like it's not going to be Luke Platt, but it looks like he's going to be doing some work in a few moments' time. The Australian champion, Theo Geoghegan-Hart, looking very accomplished at the moment and refining his form brilliantly. And here we go. Here's the turn over the railway line, and time to do some work. He'll go over this bridge at the moment next to one of the big storm gullies, and then he takes this left-hander to introduce himself to a little bit of hell, or heaven for us. It's time to go racing, time to go climbing, Brian. Here we are.
Yep, we're just at the bottom of the climb now. Just to answer that kind of comment as well, you can sugarcoat things all you like, and in a race situation you just have to tell it as it is to the riders. Sugarcoat everything afterwards and before, you know, wrap them in cotton wool, do what you want to do, but in a race situation you say it as it is. And that's what I know from the teams.
Meanwhile, 12 kilometres to go. A minute and a half is the gap as he charges into this one. A little bit of wind as well. Some advice being handed up from the roadside, as you can see. And we come by one of these massive transformers where the hydroelectricity is generated. And indeed does for keeping the light bulbs on if they're not going to burn the hydrocarbons, which this nation is famous for plundering out of the North Sea, just like Great Britain, I guess you might say. Well, you would say, because it's the truth. Meanwhile, truth is that the pace is up here. There's a lot of teams with more than a little interest about what goes on in the next few minutes. Shane Archibald does part of the drive in here as well. We can see Dave Decker doing his job on behalf of Mike Turnison and Tosh van der Sande there also up here. This is going to thin down big time. Might have been wrong about Shane Archibald, to be honest, but wait and see.
And David Decker.
Yeah, didn't see the hair. We'll see. And David Decker. 11.7 with a minute and 25. Oh, it's now. Well, what can Timo Roos do to marshal the troops here for Jumbo-Visma? He's almost got road captain's duties at the moment. Meanwhile, as you can see in this Grenadiers, almost at entirely full strength and wanting to show their hand and make amends. EF Education easy post, just guiding Esteban Chavez at the back of that line of three. In fact, he's overtaking his own men at the moment. This is fantastic, Brian.
It is, but it's steady start to the climb. There was a bit of a positioning into the final climb. In a small group like this, it's not overly important for that to happen, but like, you know, modern cycling these days, every climb that you have to position your GC rider to the fore. So they have, but this is going to be maybe a kind of slow burner. I think a few teams will be kind of sitting back to see who wants to kind of take control. I do really think that Uno X and EF have to continue this support for Chavez and Tobias Johannesson.
Well, there go some of the other quick men. I thought there were more quick men that made it over here, but Alexander Kristoff has had a brave ride today and he goes backwards. Searching for Gianluca Brambilla in the hope that he manages to produce something spectacular today. Minute and 14 still has our man up the road, but for how much longer? And here's our leader, Tobias Johannesson, wearing the bright orange jersey, not that dissimilar from the Uno X yellow, I must say. There is Chavez working the centre of the road, surrounded by teammates at the moment. They're going to work hard for him as well. They should as well. Bora Hansgrohe with Utebrechts. He's the man that Ida Schelling and Van Daal will be hoping that they can guide to something special today. Minute and 9 is the gap to the man up front and just heading the pace. Michael Valgren doing a lot of the churning work. He did most of the chase on as well for his team. You can see Ben Healy as well, just gnarly and rugged as he is, both visually and indeed on the bike. Fantastic. And some movement just coming through as well. Remco Evenepoel not wanting to be out of position just in case something dramatic happens. Timo Roosner did a lot of driving. He's now finished his task as well, just like Luke Rowe as before him. Marco Haller, thank you very much, and goodbye to the rest of his team and the tasks that he's been engaged in. Here is Freddie Van Daal. Thought he would have been a bit further up, to be honest, for Bora. 10.9 kilometres. Minute and 2 is the gap. Still bouncing on the pedals, but a lot of riders starting to struggle and suffer. And Plapp does now just slot into a decent spot, but off the nose, it looks like he's doing the chasing on behalf of Ineos Grenadiers just for the time being. And in fact, working the wall they're starting to do right now. Nose in the air for EF Education easy post, and nothing easy about this. In fact, it's the toughest inclines that we've got on this climb. They find them very quickly, Brian.
Well, they're doing a good job for Chavez now. They've missed out 2 days in a row in the crosswinds. They retrieved the situation today and put Chavez in there with a chance. First and foremost, I think for EF is possibly trying to secure at least the stage win, but you know, he would love to take some more time back, and this is his terrain over the next few days. I said there's some finishing circuits with some short, sharp climbs, and you can make a bit of a difference if you've got the legs. But Chavez, this is his big opportunity to take a little bit more time and try and kind of take that leader's jersey. I still think it's going to be tough to be able to do that, but you know, we're seeing some riders being distanced at the back here, Carlton. This is just purely because of the situation about 50 kilometres, 60 kilometres ago, when Ineos went over the top of the climb onto the wide open roads and kind of split it, and riders were exposed there, and they had to make the effort, and they have to make the effort on a race, then you're going to pay for it at some time, and some of these riders are paying for the efforts they've made earlier on in the day.
Gosh, just look at the terrain that lies up ahead. Floris Titier was part of the breakaway, don't forget, so he did an awful lot of work today, and he was very much part of the drive that kept them away for so long. A decent gap, but nothing serious. Nothing that was ever going to be a threat, not with the likes of Ineos Grenadiers, who were minded to try and blow the race apart again today, as they did yesterday when we went up to Immingfjell. Right now, though, it is the end of days. It kind of almost feels that way, doesn't it? 32 seconds now is the humble margin that's being set by the man up the road, Hessman. Floris Titier, that's the wrong graphic, was just off at the back a few moments ago. And Team Co-op have actually done a great job in this race. Hakan Alrust really working hard for that King of the Mountains jersey. And they had Drenga, who was in the breakaway. Svastad Bardeng, I think this might be. He's their best hope for the mountains. So I'll just wait till I can get a look at him. And there it is. It is he indeed. And he's a young man with an idea. And I think his best chance is to roll off and maybe just at least make us talk about him for the time being, because I think there's too much firepower behind him. But nice to see a young man with the idea at least to display some of his prowess on these climbs. Well, it looks like he's been already tagged, and Education Easy Post are the ones that have been setting the pace here and maybe paying the price for efforts a little bit earlier on. Some of Ineos Grenadiers. There is Ethan Hayter. The man on his back wheel is Magnus Sheffield, the American. But we have as well Luke Plapp sitting a little bit more proudly, a little bit further up. The Australian champion.
Pat Bevan fourth from the back here, so a lot of riders suffering a little bit. This is what EF had to do in the pink. They've retrieved the situation today. They have to show that they're prepared to ride for Chavez, and he's going to bide his time a little bit. You can either sit in the group like the co-op rider and just be nobody and not get a mentioned, or try to go on the attack, and he's done that. He will pay for it, and I don't think he'll be able to kind of hang on to this front group. But this is good work now from Education Easy Post in the pink. They've retrieved the situation and they're setting up Chavez. It's just a matter of time before he has to attack, and I'm saying he has to. He cannot sit and wait. The others can sit and wait and follow, Evney Paul and Tobias Johannesson, but just at the back of the group. I know that Ethan Hayter rides at the back of the group, but when gaps start to appear and Pat Bevan is starting to lose the wheel, Sheffield trying to look after Ethan Hayter, the gaps are starting to appear at the back of this group now. So I don't think it will be and he said it all along. Ethan Hayter said after the finish, this is too hard for him, and he's right.
Pat Bevan also just starting to struggle here in this quartet that's starting to form off the back. Van Hooijdonk is part of it as well. And some of the workers, including Ben Healy, now having done his job on behalf of Esteban Chavez. Now, I thought it might be around about 9 kilometres to go, but maybe it's a bit too early. Theo Gegenhardt making a very good account of himself. It looks like the form he's been searching for is absolutely there, and looks like he's leading Luke Plapp up to a little bit of glory today. Let's wait and see. Is Plapp the man who is the choice? Let's see. Well, he was my pick a little bit earlier on. Did you make a pick for today, Brian? Chavez, I presume.
I think I said...
A bit late, but anyway.
Yeah, I think I said that Evney Paul was the favourite for today, but I was going to go for Tobias Johannesson. Nice.
Well, it would be great if any of those win. Not least for bragging rights for us, but let's see. Johannesson wears the orange leader's jersey, and we're starting to find out quite a few very, very good riders here. Remy Cavagna just starting to struggle just a little bit off the back. Meanwhile, it's if you're going to make a statement, then perhaps it is now. This is not Teo, is it? That's going for it. Can't quite see for the trees. We'll have a look in a moment's time. Who is going to be tempted by the incline here, Brian? There you go. There's your answer.
It is, but Shaw at the front for EF, he's just setting a tempo. Chavez knows when he wants to go. He's already used it, Ben Healy, but going early is Theo Geoghegan-Hart. He's a rider that came here from illness, just looking for some form. If he was coming here, he's former Giro d'Italia winner, of course. If he was coming here, he would be one of the favourites to take this stage and take overall victory. But he has been working hard for the team, deciding to go on the attack just inside 9 kilometres to go. But the wait still goes on with Chavez. How much longer can James Shaw keep this up will determine when Chavez decides he wants to make his move.
Still going. Pat Bevan has been amazing, hasn't he? It was great in Turkey, and keeping up with some accomplished climbers. An all-terrain vehicle, I think you might say, and this is wonderful to see Theo Geoghegan-Hart just grasping the nettle, as you will. Still tempoing just behind and doing a fantastic job. James Shaw, for the time being, on behalf of Chavez. Was that a flick of the arm? I'm not quite sure. I don't know whether it's a signal to say he's running out of resources. Tobias Johannesson is there as well. I think it's Greniard, perhaps his teammate further down. He's in the Johannesson in the all orange leader's jersey for the time being. Evenepoel is just tucked on his back wheel in the white Young Riders jersey. Plapp has been able to rest up because of the effort that's been put in by Theo Geoghegan-Hart, and the tempo to drag over Chavez has been an exceptional one. Super work here, I must say, by EF Easy Post. They've ridden with great spirit today, and they've had to. Brambilla is tucked in this group as well for Trek, as you can see. A few others as well. Lawrence Hoyce is also part of it, and time to go. And it's Chavez finally gets the release. And James Shaw just saying, I'm coming over the side of the road just in case there's anybody behind him, because he's absolutely spent. And now it's time to make the investment. Esteban Chavez picks it up, and this is a big question to absolutely everyone. What a line of talent we have here. And it's a description, really, of those who are going to be looking for the title later on. There is Chavez. Sitting behind him is the leader of this race, Tobias Johannesson. Tucked in behind him is Remco Evenepoel as they take this big turn right now. It's time to invest, and the man who's spending the dollars right now in terms of energy is Chavez, and he pulls over to the side of the road. Doesn't like the task that's been demanded of him, and it's time for others to come through, Brian.
Well, we said he had to go early, didn't we? Jay Vine now takes up the mantle and takes advantage of Chavez. It's just a pity that Chavez had to use his team in the valley before to retrieve the situation, because I think he would have loved to have gone a little bit further up the climb with his teammates instead of having to do it on his own. I thought he'd go maybe 5-6 to go, but at the end of the day he has to go early. He has to shake everybody off. He has to go alone. But will he have the help of maybe some of the others?
Well, he looked like he had some great strength in his legs yesterday, Jay Vine. So did, I have to say, Esteban Chavez, but he had to burn a lot of that strength, I think. Plapp just keeping it sensible at the moment, staying on the back wheel of Remco Evenepoel. What a great duke out we have for you at the moment. Oitebrechts is also part of this drive, and they've just managed to work their way back onto the back wheel here of Jay Vine, who may well be able to kick again. Let's wait and see. The last of the steep sections is coming up in about 700 metres time, and Chavez may well use that as a launch pad, which was the prediction of the great Brian Smith. In fact, it's Freddie Vandal who is up here by the looks of things for Bora Hansgrohe. Just gets a little reminder of just how tough life can be out front. And Tobias Johannesson it is that goes over to the side of the road, and Evenepoel decides to go with him. And there's a lot of looking around here. This is Carl Freddy Hagen. Not going to be his day, I'm afraid. Pat Bevan had done a lot of work to stay with Carl Frederick Hagen and help him out in this regard. I'm afraid it's not going to be right now with 7.4 kilometres to go. The last zone of real pain is coming up, and you can see the way the road is working and the way they are working at 7.4 kilometres. looks like we may well be going to the top of this this challenging peak, and there is Evenepoel, has a quick look behind, and Jay Vine now staying with him. Whoa! A look back, and Jay Vine unclips, and that's a hard thing to come back from. You have to work very, very hard. A little bit of a vision he wanted to take, but shows that he's got plenty left in the bank and just rolls straight back on. That's a wake-up call, and he may well use that adrenaline.
Yeah, Evenepoel was just, he's for the second time he's looking behind. He just moves over again. I don't know what he's doing, weaving about the road there, but not even, just a shake of the head there, not even a sorry there. When in my book, you're at fault there. You have to look back and say, sorry mate, but I think it's a case of, both of them are looking behind, touch of the wheel. It's okay, nothing seriously happened there, but I don't think Evenepoel even cares.
Well, he has been known to have his challenges. He offered one up to Lawrence Hoyce, it was, by the way, from Intermarché Wanty, who just basically held up his arms as if to say, what are you doing? Meanwhile, 7.1 kilometres to go, and some are just working their way back to that front group, or at least attempting to do so. Yeah, he's done a lot of hard work. That's just ahead of him. Trying to work out is behind the neutral service car. Can't quite do it, and here we go. Vine goes again. He's asking all the questions. The others have had the answers so far. But I'm just wondering, Vandal it is that sets off. Here goes Evenepoel as well in the young rider's jersey, and it's Tobias Johannesson who's got the legs to go. Chavez looks like he may well have a little bit of a deficit, but he picks it up. He's got some drive, and in fact Chavez it is that finds the pace right now, and Plapp decides to go with him as well, and the gaps are extinguished, Brian. This is fantastic.
It is, and Jay Vine, he's done this before. I think it was in the Tour of Turkey as well, that he's full of fight. He will not just kind of sit in the wheels and choose one point. He will keep on trying to test the others out. I think it's a case of Remco Evenepoel. He's just sitting and waiting. I think he's really, really confident. So he's just sitting and waiting and choosing and biding his time when he's going to go, and he starts to put the pressure on a little bit now. He's probably had enough. Gap starting to open now. Chavez kind of loses the wheel. Chavez had to go early, but I think he's paying for some of his efforts already, and just trying to kind of hang on to Vine, Evenepoel and the race leader Johannesson, who seem to be the strongest trio. But Plapp still getting involved here, but Evenepoel decides enough of this kind of attack, and he's come to the front. 6.4 to go. Tobias Johannesson there, Luke Plapp, Vine. It looks like Chavez is struggling to close that gap now.
6.4 from home. Now, how's this one going to pan out? And it looks like this quartet being driven on by Evenepoel. Well, he started off as the day's favourite, I must say. Shortest odds sat upon his name. And I had to say, I've got to admit, I didn't believe. But I'm starting to. Happy to admit that, and
he is the favourites, but Johannesson's starting to struggle now, so he's just the constant pressure. What can Plapp can do, Vine? I think Evenepoel's his challenger now is Jay Vine.
There goes the leader, Tobias Johannesson. Just edged off the back here, and it looks like Tobias Johannesson is a spent force, Brian.
Yeah, he was. He was just kind of losing the wheel a little bit. He was sat on Evenepoel's wheel, and Evenepoel was just starting to increase the pace all the time now. But I think Chavez's hopes of overall victory are gone in this climb. And I think Evenepoel is just going to grind everybody into dust. He did start the day as favourites. But looking at the others, I would have loved to have seen a win or hold on to the jersey for Tobias Johannesson. But for this moment, he just can't keep with Plapp, Vine and Evenepoel.
Well, I think he's going to hope that the terrain, which will start to get a little bit easier, but there's no easement for another kilometre. Let me just tell you that. The trio up front, well, Plapp versus Vine and Evenepoel, that's the way it's shaping up at the moment. Chavez gave it a very, very good go, but we will wait and see if any of them can get back on the flat. We said it might be a 4-up sprint before the line, but the way that Evenepoel is riding at the moment, who knows? What's Vine got left in the locker? That's the big question. They came into contact, the cleanest ride so far of this trio, but just starting to nod a little bit is Luke Plapp, the Australian champion. hard to read them, to be honest. But Evenepoel happy to take on this duty, Brian, of just setting the tempo.
Well, not overly happy. He just flicked his elbow and nobody came through. And I think that's just Plapp's style, that he kind of nods a little bit out the saddle. I don't think we can read it too much into that. I think what I've seen so far, that Jay Vine is the rider that Evenepoel would have to worry about more than anything else. But Evenepoel looks the strongest. He is the favourite, and he's pretty much doing what we kind of half expected him to do. But he has asked the question of the others, and he is virtually leading this race now. We started the day with Plapp sitting on 14 seconds, so that's 13 seconds in front of the man in white, and Jay Vine started the day at 16 seconds, 15 seconds in front of the man in white. So virtual leader is Evenepoel in the white jersey. Can he turn that into orange? It looks like he can, but this could be a top three. Evenepoel asked the question again, and it's a no from Plapp and it's a no from Jay Vine. I think Jay Vine is just going to say, well, I don't know if I can go toe-to-toe with you, Evenepoel, but I'm going to sit here as long as I can and try and take that stage and take the bonuses that go with it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Jay Vine, as you say, at 16 seconds. Evenepoel's just a second off the lead of Tobias Johansson, who now finds himself in arrears. And although we've not got any time gaps, I think it's about 15 seconds back to Tobias Johansson. Udebrecht, Chavez, Julius Johansson is also there. Not sure it is Julius Johansson, but I think it's Lawrence Heuss, but from Intermarché Wanty. Meanwhile, at the front, no doubt about it, they are putting the hurt on the moment of Remco Evenepoel. Doesn't matter how this trio come home, Evenepoel, if they do come home and make up the podium, it will be Evenepoel that leads the race. But how much does he want the stage win with 5 kilometres to go? And just a gentle easing down to 9%, as if you could describe that as anything other than brutal. There's our leader, Tobias Johansson. They're leaning on him at the moment. He's the man who's seeing his orange jersey go onto the shoulders of Remco Evenepoel, provided Evenepoel is not distanced by Plapp and Jay Vine. And here is your answer, and he's gone. Oh, Evenepoel just says, well, you know what? I'm just prepared to kick on. And he does so. He's made the break for it. Jay Van Neersman to him. And Luke Plapp just struggling a little bit and stamping on those pedals. If he can get over this tough section, Plapp, he may well re-find himself. Likewise, Jay Vine, who's tempoing over to Evenepoel, tried to grind everyone to dust, but it's a tough act. Indeed, it's a tough act to follow as well. 5Ks from home. Just eases down ever so slightly at this point to about 9%, then 8%, and then the percentages halve as we head to the plateau at the top. Well, we thought there may well be a sprint. I'm not quite sure about that right now, because Evenepoel looks in charge of his destiny.
Yeah, he flicked the elbow a couple of times. He did it a third time and decided, well, if you're not going to work with me, I'm going to attack you. Plapp is gone. I think I said it just a moment ago, the only danger for Evenepoel was Jay Vine, and Jay Vine riding a more kind of measured climb, but Evenepoel was not overly comfortable. You saw that look. If he didn't look back, he'd be really confident. So he's hurting as well. He just looked behind to see where Jay Vine is. What has Jay Vine got left? That's the question. Can he close this gap? As we say, further up this climb, it gets a little bit easier, and I think that will lend itself a little bit more to Evenepoel than Jay Vine. But it's constant looking from Evenepoel behind now. Not a lot in it, but I think Plapp is definitely out of it now.
And indeed, he may well get tagged by the chasers. Still 4 kilometres to go, so it may not all be over for Tobias Johansson, to be honest. If he gets back in here, the leader of this race, started the day just a second down on Remco Evenepoel, who will take the lead of this race by the looks of things. Let's see whether he can drive this one home. I believe he can, but it's not over for Jay Vine either. Doggedly determined. He tries to stay with it. Plapp now by some margin off the back, and I think just about to be swept up by the Johansson group. And indeed, this is Jay Vine right now. Gives you the his perspective as to what he's got to eat into here. There's a whole load of gravel that's been kicked up by Evenepoel, who's up ahead of him. And the gap is extending, Brian.
Yeah, Jay Vine won't give up. He'll give everything. It's the question now is, Evenepoel, does he continue on? He's looking back constantly. He knows that this is a tough climb, and he'll probably win the stage. He's probably in the, he'll take the race lead. But I think, the question now for Evenepoel is how much does he want to lead with at the end? He's going to get that kind of 10-second bonus. Does he want to lead by 20 seconds, or does he want to lead by a minute? And only he'll decide that. He'll determine, because if he leads by a minute, I think this race could be over. But if he leads by 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then there's still possibilities for others. But it does look impressive from Remco Evenepoel. He did look impressive in the first stage, and he's climbing this climb well today. But what has Jay Vine got left? Has he measured these efforts, or is he just going full on to try and kind of close that gap?
Well, it's Udebrix that's leading the charge now, with Esteban Chavez, with Tobias Johansson, and I still think it is Lawrence Hoyce from Intermarché Wanty.
It is Hoyce.
Yes, I think so too. But Plapp is about to be absorbed by them. Meanwhile, Evenepoel, if there were any doubts today, it was about the climb itself, and he's conquered that, because he's now in terrain that he will feel far more comfortable than indeed many others, including this man, Jay Vine, who's had a fantastic drive today. Been so impressed by him so far this season. We saw him doing fantastic work in Turkey, runner-up there, and he's going to be runner-up today by the looks of things, but will very much be in the frame, to say the very least, for the title here, because there's going to be two men with an absolutely enormous margin. I think it'd have to be an absolute disaster for Evenepoel. That's the gap, by the way, back to the orange jersey. It's a more modest gap back to Jay Vine, who's refinding his legs for the time being. It says G2, but the gap between Vine and Evenepoel, let's see if we can get a time on it for you. Rudimentary, you understand. Meanwhile, 3.3 kilometres, and this is that flatter section I was telling you about, and he should be able to drive this home. But how motivated he is to be in killing mode, I think hyper motivated to my mind. He'd like to take control of this and make sure that with the outstanding days still to come, and they're all tough, Brian, that he's got something that can be preserved by the end of today.
Yeah, he's not going to measure this effort here, but it looks as though Evenepoel, he wants to win by as much a margin as possible to make it a little bit easier over the next few days. Like you say, it's not easy in these next few days. Jay Vine will not give up, and what he did do is give up everything back home. Remember the story, a couple of years ago that he sold up everything, came to Europe, and put everything into becoming a professional bike rider, and he's doing a very good job of it.
It is. It's a fantastic backstory. There'll be a movie about it one day. I'd like to see him get even more success than he's already garnered. It's a spectacular performance he's a quiet man whose legs go loud. I think that's the best way of describing him. Etoile Bessèges, at the beginning of this year, he started off with the King of the Mountains title, and ever since then he's been enthralling us. He did a good run in the Algarve towards the end on stage 5. Tour of Turkey, runner-up after some fantastic performances by him. It's another good one today. Just one man better than him by the looks of things. You don't know how it'll pan out, but a 24-second margin is what Evenepoel has over Jay Vine at the moment as he drives this one home with 2.7 kilometres to go. So a 300-metre gap between the pair of them, according to the tickers. Gosh, wow, he's finding a bit of pace here, Jay Vine, and it's another fantastically creditable performance. But take nothing away from Remco Evenepoel. He's been sprightly, he's been precocious, he's been his usual self, I think it's fair to say, Brian. And he's going to grasp the lead of this race, and I have difficulty finding an idea of anyone who might take it away from him.
It's going to be really difficult now. If it finished at the moment, he would be 40 odd seconds in the lead of this race. I know he's only 25 seconds in front, but he was 15 seconds in front of Jay Vine at the start of the day, plus the bonuses at the end, so it's going to be 40 odd seconds for the moment. And I think this is why we're seeing him kind of drive this all the way in. He wants to lead this race by as much as possible. That means the next few days, and I said there's some banana skins, some finishing circuits, and if there's a crash or a puncture or anything like that, you don't want to put anything by chance. So if he has the lead by close to a minute, then that'll put Quick Step in a really, really strong situation in the general classification.
Luke Plapp still hasn't given up the ghost here, and in fact he's setting a similar kind of tempo here to Jay Vine. Helicopter just almost making a nuisance of itself here, just blasting air into this little bowl that's hitting the riders. And here is Plapp. He's got a very, very good margin. This is a gutsy performance by the Australian.
It is, good to see. No real surprise, he's a quality athlete. Trying to gain some prize money back for his fine yesterday, but it is a strong performance, and good to see these young lads, battling it out against each other.
He got a fine for not displaying his numbers properly, which was unfortunate because so many others were doing the same thing, but he was the only one who could be identified because was identified by the commissaires because of his national jersey. Meanwhile, Evenepoel pushes on and he's still attacking. This is fantastic. Talk about vim and vigour. This is that little downhill dish I was telling you about. So a momentary respite.
Michel. He'll never get up. I've been in many cars with Michel Cornelisa, top rider in his day. One of the Kermesse Kings, but he is so on it. And I remember in the Tour de France with him, and me and him just kind of, I was a bit more laid back, but he was always go up alongside, shout, come on, fight, and some sport directors are that, some sport directors are a bit more relaxed. But talking about a bit more relaxed, the gradients have relaxed a lot now in this climb. This is where Evenepoel can push into this kind of lower gradient and try and eke out even more advantage on the pursuers behind.
Well, Jay Vine is going to be motivated as well to keep this gap as modest as he possibly can. Likewise, Luke Plapp. And here is Evenepoel getting a bit of bow wave assistance from the camera bike here, pushing on. Meanwhile, likewise, you might say for this man, Jay Vine, even-handed then in that regard, and he can see his quarry up ahead of him. There's the Flamme Rouge, but all that means is that Evenepoel is going to take the day, but by what margin? He's going to push on, and so is Luke Plapp. This is fantastic from the Aussie. I'm hoping he's not going to get caught at the very last here. I'd like him to get some bonus seconds to add to the effort that he's put in. Take nothing away from Remco Evenepoel. I thought that it'd be a sprint today between Jay Vine and Luke Plapp. This man thought otherwise. I thought the mountain was going to be too hard for him. He's proving that his credentials are absolutely where they should be. Top draw performance by Remco Evenepoel. He's going to come home to wrestle control of this race, and it's for everybody else in this game of catch me if you can. And today, they could not. Evenepoel. That was a magnificent celebration. Taking flight almost at the line. He's getting the high fives as well, and I'd offer him my hand likewise. That was magnificent. Here comes Jay Vine. We'll see what the margin is by the end of today. Evenepoel takes it. Jay Vine crossing the line in a few moments' time. Camera dwelling on the high-vis security men, and there it is. And we will wait for, indeed, as Evenepoel is already warming up, or at least making sure that he doesn't cool down too quickly. Here's Luke Plapp, sails by the camera, almost offers up a kiss. I think you might say. I don't know what happened to the camera there. Looked like he got tangled just a little bit. Hopefully it wasn't with Luke Plapp. Plapp comes around the corner, not to be denied third place. Fabulously gutsy performance here by the Australian. Heel heads for the line for a worthy third place. He'll be third overall as well, unless they're too close behind him. I don't think they are, as the clock starts to toll upon those in arrears of him. And here we are, and almost being dragged in. Hoyce running for the line, and it's a battle. I think do they think it's for third place? It's for fourth today. Tobias Johannesson is that crosses the line and makes sure that he stops the clock in possibly enough to preserve. No, it won't be because of bonuses. Third place, fourth, I assume. We've had some very brave rides out there today, and it's been a pleasure to witness, Brian.
It was a good finish there. All three riders, first, second and third there, deserved the plaudits for getting themselves on the podium. It looks as if we see Sheffield and Tail Gig and Hartjes finish here, that Evenepoel will lead with a margin of about 52 seconds in the general classification. I can't see anybody taking that back, but you only have to look at what's left in this race. Definitely some stage wins, but other teams have to kind of look at how they can try and kind of wrestle with that advantage back. But I think it's going to be very difficult over the next 3 days. We did say there's some banana skins, but Evenepoel, the way he rode there, he just rode everybody to dust. He wanted to win by the biggest margin possible, and he did.
Well, some of those who've been extraordinarily brave today, just coming home right now. Carl Freddie Hagen, we saw Pat Bevan, of course, on this big mountain likewise. It's been fascinating racing. DSM have made a good account of themselves as well. Mark and Brenner have been part of proceedings. Oh, gosh. It's a day that's going to take a toll, however, and we've got a very long day tomorrow, Brian, of 231 kilometres. That's unkind.
Well, it might not be unkind for Evenepoel. He's got the race lead. It might be unkind for his team that have to control things at the front, but I think there'll be big gaps in the general classification, and they know what they're doing. Let a breakaway go, and it's up to the other teams if they want to try and bring it back for a sprint. So I think leading this race by a handsome margin of about 52 seconds in a big long stage like tomorrow, they will try and control things. I think at the start of the day, control it, make sure that nobody's dangerous in the general classification, and then they'll get help from some of the other teams, because now for the other teams it's concentration on trying to get stage wins.
I love the swan landing celebration here. That's the nearest thing I can think of as a metaphor. Just in control of his destiny. Fantastic. Here's how it finished. Evenepoel takes it ahead of Vine Plap. You know that. Tobias Johansson